What's up, everybody? I don't know that I've ever recorded two episodes the exact same way in the history of the show. I tried to jump on here today to knock off a few things that were on my mind, and my storage is full, allegedly, on Edge. So I logged on to Chrome, and all of a sudden I can record again. And the Blue Yeti's on. I do need to find some consistency, that's for sure. I don't really understand uh, why I haven't, after 30 some episodes, figured it out or became or gotten more consistent in this show, but I guess we're still putting out content. So, welcome back. We're going to talk about, last week we talked about adopting, embracing the occupational athlete mindset. And today I want to just drill down on a few points from that I don't know that I necessarily got across well in reflection of that episode. I haven't listened to it, but I feel like I left some things on the table that we should probably get over. In the meantime, let's just all, again, if we could, take a moment to pray for BBL. I just found out yesterday that he doesn't drink whole milk. And if you're interested where my opinion on that is I feel like whole milk's or skim milk's for women. Drink whole milk. Apparently he's got an aversion for macronutrients. But anyway, that's just my opinion. It doesn't mean it's right. And it doesn't mean he's wrong, even though he is. I was going to talk last week probably a little bit more about what I eat in a day, and not because this is like I have not perfected it by any means when it comes to specific amount of calories and specific amount of macronutrients, because I don't count anymore. I counted calories for a very, very, very long time, and I kind of got to know, like, after a while, you just kind of know kind of where you're at. And the big thing, if you're interested in like what your metric is for if you're eating too much, is really how your shift pants fit. It's real easy throughout the course of a year or 2 years to every year use that uniform allowance and have to buy some bigger britches. Okay, that is an indication that you are on a regular daily basis consistently eating too many calories. If you're staying obviously the same throughout, most of your career, then you're eating pretty good. And this is just as it relates to weight loss, weight gain. This has nothing to do with metabolic performance or metabolic efficiency. This is just saying for weight loss, weight gain. And obviously, if you're dropping a pant size, and you're meaning to drop a pant size, then you're on the right track, and you're in most of the time you're in a calorie deficit. You cannot lose weight without being in a caloric deficit. It doesn't matter what the science is. The science, and that is I'm not talking about COVID science. I'm talking about real science. Like, the science is the science. You cannot lose weight if you're in a calorie deficit. So if you're in a calorie deficit and you're not losing weight, then you're not in a calorie deficit. Does that make sense? And if you're gaining weight consistently, you're obviously in an excess. So how your uniform fits you is a good metric over the years on whether or not you're trending up and trending down. And there's other, obviously, like, signs too, right? Like, we're getting up on that time of year, what I like to call sweatpants season. It's historically my favorite time of year because, like I've said before, elastic waistbands make me feel real good. And then obviously when spring rolls around, I have a little work to do to cut back in down what I like to call pool season weight. And historically that's been a number, right? So I like to try to summer around 185. Sub 185 is real nice. And typically I don't try to winter, but it just happens to get to that point where I get up around 195. If I get to 200, we're in trouble. And that's where the game changes a little bit. At 195, obviously I'm a little heavier, a little slower. I can feel that in some of the workouts. Obviously, I can feel it in my uniform, or that zipper kind of has a little bump in it now. Instead of zipping straight up, we kind of go out and around. And it's super easy to do, especially when you're distracted by other hobbies, or you're not as active outside as you normally are. Maybe you're picking up some extra shifts because it's wintertime and there's nothing else going on. So, your food choices are a little lesser, whatever it is. It's a bad time of year. And then the holidays obviously coming up gives everybody a reason. Calories do count over Christmas. Like, I hate to break it to you. They count on the weekends. They count over the holidays. It is my biggest pet peeve. That's not true. That list is real long. It's one of my pet peeves where I see, people that know they're not in the best of physical condition, but will like declare before they put some sort of giant chocolatey goodness in their face that calories do not count over Christmas, which to me is an indication that that you're overeating. Like, you can have treats for shit's sakes. You just don't want to overeat on a daily basis. That ends up to that, 10, 15 pounds of weight gain every year that I see. And so I see this a lot at the refresher. At the end of March, we always have or not at the end of March, usually in February, I think January, February, there's a weekend long conference where we all get our continuing education. And, every 2 years I see the same people. They're just bigger. But if you look at how they attack that free catered lunch, you can kind of see why, right? Like, it's highly processed, mass produced food that we load up on our plate and we eat too much of, and we top off with one of those free brownies, and then we go into the afternoon session just kind of feeling like shit because we overate. And then, you do that throughout the course of 52 weeks a year, and it's not hard to see why we're buying bigger EMS pants when it comes time to use our uniform allowance again. So, what I've done, and it doesn't matter if pick your fad. It doesn't matter whether you're keto, carnivore, South Beach, Mediterranean, Weight Watchers, fasting, intermittent fasting. Nobody gives a shit. What people care about, or what your body's going to care about, is whether you're not in a calorie deficit because you're looking to lose weight, or you're in a maintenance. So you're spending what you're making basically. If you look at calories as a bank account, it costs you a certain amount of money every day to run your business being you. And if you spend more than you make, you'll be in a deficit. You're going to owe, and that's how you lose weight. If you make more than you spend, well, then you're in an excess. You have more than what you got. And that usually leads to weight gain. If you're spending and making, you're coming out every day even, you're going to stay the same weight. And that's it. And it doesn't matter what fucking age you are, for one. Like, that formula is the same whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Now, it's not to say that there aren't other hurdles hormonally as you get older, but if those are in check, then it would stand to reason that the calorie in, calorie out still holds true. If all of your other stuff is in the optimal range. We're going to talk about that in a second. I just found out some interesting facts about my metabolic panel that we talked about last week. We'll probably end the show with that. So if I'm doing a 24-hour shift, and carbs, protein, fats, like, listen, you don't have to count precisely. Like, if you want to improve your metabolic panel and at the same time probably drop a few pounds, you just have to stay away from certain foods, and that is like the highly processed shit. So cake, donuts, sorry, anything in a package, bag or box, like, those are the things you really want to stay away from. Whole foods, fruits, meats, eggs are superfood. I don't care what people tell you we go through probably 5 dozen eggs every 2 weeks. I think in my house, everybody in my house eats eggs. It's a superfood. It's not evil. It's probably the best food on the planet. Ground beef is a superfood. I know it's red meat, and in the old days they'd say, stay away from red meat. It's all bullshit. Don't do it. It's eat a cow, man. If you can just tune in to those. Organic, I think, is even bullshit sometimes. Free range, I think, is bullshit sometimes. Like, you just want cereals. Don't eat cereals are terrible. Like, it's just that kind of shit I'm talking about. The highly sugared, highly processed stuff. So back to I used to would not eat my first meal until about noon. That depends on, like when I schedule my workout. So if I work out first thing in the morning, I'll work out fasted. I usually don't get a high output from that, but I feel like I've kind of earned a better meal after that workout. And that first meal after a workout is usually something significant: 5 or 6 eggs, a couple pieces of bacon, maybe some venison breakfast sausage, maybe some protein pancakes with butter on it and sugar-free syrup. And then I'll usually top those pancakes with blueberries and maybe a banana. And then I'll follow that up with maybe some cuties for fruit as a little sweet dessert or something like that, with a cup of coffee and some heavy cream. Okay, so that's meal number one. Meal number two then is usually, and so that's later in the morning. That's usually 10, 11 o'clock, maybe even noon. Meal number two then is dinner. And that is, I could eat the same things every day. I don't, and that is usually a half a pound of ground beef in some form and a sweet potato. So my favorite thing to do is to dice up the sweet potatoes, put those in a bowl, ground up some ground beef, put that in a bowl, and then add some shredded cheese and some Big Mac sauce. And I have myself, and maybe a little shredded lettuce, and I have myself what I call a Big Mac bowl or a sweet potato bowl. That's probably my favorite thing to eat. The second favorite thing to eat is a Big Mac taco, low carb tortilla shell smothered in beef, fried beef side down, flip it up, put some shredded cheese on it, melt it, add a little shredded lettuce and some Big Mac sauce, and there you go. Now, with everything in moderation, I don't eat 2 or 3 of them. I have one. In between that, lunch and dinner is usually a snack of some kind, and that is probably fruit, bananas, apples, the occasional protein bar, Quest protein bar. And then at night before I go to bed, that's usually when I have my treat. And my treat consists of Greek yogurt, protein powder, collagen protein powder, a little PB2, sometimes a little honey, sometimes not. And then I top it with some blueberries, and that's it. Now, there are days when I do succumb to my sweet tooth. Okay. Little nip of chocolate here, handful of chocolate chips there. Used to be some chocolate covered almonds. I'm a real sucker during hunting season for Monster Trail Mix, but Jesus Christ, that shit adds up really fast. A handful of that's about 200 calories, and you figure every time you pass the pantry, if you're grabbing a handful of that because you're either bored or hungry, think about how all those calories add up. And it's easy to see how after 2 or 3 months of not being outside or not paying attention to what I eat, how quickly sweatpants season gets the best of me. So that is the general rule. I'm really trying hard anymore in the last probably 4 months, just not snacking. So where does that leave me on the scale? I wake up every day and I feel about the same, which tells me that I'm probably in a pretty good maintenance phase. If I wanted to cut 5 or 6 pounds for something, let's say a vacation or a reunion or something on the calendar, that would take a little more work and a little more intention. If you're 20, 30 pounds overweight already, just adopting, just cutting out your snacks and cutting out your shit, changing your pop to water, or your Coke to Coke Zero or whatever, cutting out your snacks in the middle of the day, or your commute food, or you stopping at the gas station to get your 2 cake donuts, turning that into maybe like a uh, one of my favorite things to make at home is my own breakfast sandwich. So a sourdough English muffin and eggs and cheese and some sausage, and put that on and eat it. Like, that's to me better than the other stuff. Sourdough bread to me is much better for you than actually like whole wheat or wheat bread. And so I'll indulge occasionally on the sourdough bread. So that's where I'm at. Now, if you need more evidence of cleaning up your diet and taking out the processed shit and how that affects you, I'll give you 2 anecdotal things that happened to me over the last probably decade after I started cleaning up my diet. One was I used to have IBS, something bad, so irritable bowel syndrome. Probably once a week, I would have some sort of like bowel attack where I would just have terrible pain in my gut. And I would just, if you guys have seen that Dumb and Dumber episode where he gets a little laxative mixed up in his drink, and then how that turns out at that lady's house, that's exactly what I would do. And I would do it once a week, and it was awful. To the point where I got on medicine, dicyclomine, I think it was, for spasms in my gut, and so it relaxed my gut, so it would release the pain. I took out carbohydrates and all processed food, and I'm not kidding you, I have not had an episode like that in probably a decade. Okay, I get it. I'm crazy. It just worked for me, and that's the only person in the history of the world it would ever work for. Number 2, example, I used to have terrible chronic pain in my knees and in my neck. Now, some of that due to overuse, a lot of running on pavement, a lot of box jumps, a lot of double unders. I get it. And then my neck, of course, the degenerative disease that I had in that before I got it fused. Cut out processed food, carbohydrates, and all the pain went away. Not, if you listen to that statement, there's nothing that I benefit from telling you that. Like, I'm not making any money. I'm not selling anything. There's nothing for me in this other than I would chew ibuprofen on a daily basis, and I rarely, if ever, take any sort of anti-inflammatory now because I don't need to. Like, the pain's gone. Now, I'm not saying I don't have the occasional tweak here or there where if after a long shift, my neck really does hurt, or, maybe my knee does twinge every now and then, but it's certainly, I used to get injections in my knees. Like, that's how, on a monthly basis, I would go to Dr. Carlson, who, by the way, is a great doc at Stadium Sports Med, no affiliation with the show. And he would inject my knees with artificial lubricant. Since I cut out processed food and carbohydrates, I don't take shit anymore. I don't do anything. So I get that the media is full of do this and do that. And if you're over 40, eat like this. And if you're over 50, eat like this. And if you want to burn fat and lean muscle, eat this. It's all bullshit, man. Just eat, just don't eat like an asshole, right? Like, have good whole foods that come from animals and come from trees and bushes and the ground, and try to lay off the shit as much as you can. Whole nother episode, talk about that. Working out. So anyway, how I would cater my shift. So on a 24-hour shift, I would probably be a little more carb heavy. That way, if I did, run that trip at 2 or 3 in the morning, I had a little bit more energy. And then on the backside of my day, so this is the day like yesterday, for example, when I was up all night, and I'd been up for about 24 hours. Like, that's a real good day to eat all the carbs and all the shit and make yourself feel real good about life if you could just stuff yourself full of all the shit. And that's the day you don't want to do it. So what I usually do on the day after when I need to recover from a long shift is I will fast as long as possible. And that is just a mental game that I play with myself to not give in to food. And then I will focus heavily on fats and proteins because that keeps me fuller longer. And I'm not going to try to binge. So if at all else fails, if you're wondering where to go in life as far as what to eat in a day, focus on proteins, animal source for proteins and fats. Try to lay out try to skip the processed carbs, eat all the fruit you want, and then see how you feel after a week or two. And I'm guarantee you'll notice a big difference. And then we talk about working out. You don't necessarily have to work out to lose weight. All you need to do is just not put so much food in your face. So you don't working out has other benefits as far as job longevity and strength and endurance. And can you do your job better? Sure. There's some strategies for that. You may have to work out before your shift. A guy that I just works where he just texts me. He I don't know if he's trying. Anyway, he lets me know that he's working out, and I think sometimes it's because he feels. Because I kind of wrote his ass about he took a rest day quote, and I was like, I don't even understand what that means. Rest day, like there is no rest, whatever. Uh, he was doing a 48-hour shift. He got up at 0400 the day this 48-hour shift and just got to work in because that's when he could do it. And so if you're wanting to add a workout or some sort of exercise, you just got to figure out when you can fit it in and not make excuses to miss it. I know 4:00 in the morning is early, but if that's when you can go for your walk, that's when you can go for your walk. Working out on duty is an entirely different animal. Know that you're going to get interrupted. Try to get as much work in as you can. And if you get the whole workout done, you win. If you get interrupted and you can come back and finish it, that's great too. Just know that probably on a 24-hour shift, you're not going to be able to recover from it. So if you're looking to gain anything from it, whether that's muscle mass or whatever, probably not going to see a lot of gains because you're just not going to get the good quality sleep. So if you're looking to burn calories, kill some time, maybe you're just kind of beat down and you need a quick burst of energy, get on the treadmill, do whatever you got to do, and then go home. Working out after your shift, your 24-hour shift, that just takes sometimes some balls, man. Like you just got to come home or go and just say, I'm going to do it regardless of how I feel. Yeah, it might be a slugfest. Yeah, but if you are every third day bound up in a 24-hour shift and every third day after that you feel tired, then that really only leaves you every third day to work out. Is that enough? Yeah, it's better than nothing. But I think you'll find that there's great reward in challenging yourself to say, you know what, I'm really dog ass tired. I'm going to take a couple hour nap and then I'm going to get after it if your schedule allows. If not, just do what you can. Nobody's judging you. Just get in what work you can get it in. That's it for that. Those are kind of the 2 points I wanted to drill home about what I eat in a day, and then how I manage my fitness on days that I work and days that I don't. I don't work out on duty anymore. I just kind of got tired of I just know the interruption's coming. So if I'll do something before I go to work, that way and I don't do it as I'm not trying to gain anything because I know that I'm not going to recover for it. Even if I don't go on any trips that night, I'm not going to sleep well just because that's just the nature of the beast. So if you've noticed as you age, the job is getting more difficult, I want you to think about, is it really getting more difficult because I'm getting older, or is it getting more difficult because I'm neglecting the things that I need to do to be better physically at my job? Does that make sense? Are you neglecting your nutrition, your mobility, your flexibility, and are you neglecting your physical fitness? And is that the real reason why your job is getting more difficult as you get older? Because it's really easy to say, well, I'm 50. So listen, I'm just not going to be able to do the things that I used to do. So listen here, young buck, you're going to have to take over from now on, and you're going to have to load the cot because I'm 50. That in itself is bullshit. So let's wrap up here and talk about my labs. So I gave my labs to Ashley Schultz. If you remember, I don't remember what episode it was, but Ashley Schultz was on. She's a functional wellness practitioner, and which, by the way, is the number one listened to episode in all 30 episodes. She just hit 165 listens. She is number one all time, which just tells me that there's a market out there for people that want to know more. And so sent her my standard labs. I thought I was in business. Look at me. Most 98% of my shit's normal. She ran it through her system, and guess what? Your boy's got problems. Now, I'm within the normal range on some things, but I'm not in the optimal range. And so her and I are going to work on like a mock consultation where her and I sit down, we go through what's what and why I'm maybe normal, but not optimal in some. So obviously the big one's my A1C, my fasting glucose, my estimated glucose. I'm kicking around the idea of getting a glucose monitor so I can figure out where I'm spiking and where I'm not. Stress is a big cause of glucose spikes, and so if the job, because you're tired or stressed or you're amped up or whatever, that very well could be it. It very well could be with that I chew lifesavers with a bunch of sugar in them at work a lot, and I have a sweet tooth. Probably the big one thing was my ALT, which is a liver enzyme, which is an indicative of liver damage and fatty liver disease. That jumped up 10 points from last year. My suspicion is because I did a trial run on the statin. Statins are notorious for raising liver enzymes, but decreasing your LDLs. I know of a physician, Dr. Peter Attia, who just talked about this in a podcast, that if he sees that in his clients, he gets them off the statin. I would rather have a little high cholesterol than a fatty liver or a damaged liver. So the statins from now on are, in my opinion, going to get fucked. There are alternative medications out there to lower my ApoB, and which is the only thing I'm concerned about. I'm not really concerned about my LDLs, but I am concerned that it has now increased the production of or increased liver damage. So I'm interested in trying to find that out and what I can do as an alternative to try to balance both. And her and I will talk about that too. The other thing that I noticed too is my TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, is low, which was indicative, I believe, of a hyperactive thyroid. Well, typically, I think hyperactive thyroid people are real thin. I'm not real thin. I'm not at all. Like I got about 10 pounds of just flabby shit I want to lose. So we're going to get into that too. So stay tuned from that. Thanks for listening. I'm at a half hour. Next week, we're going to sit down. We're going to talk about what it means to be the standard and whether or not you're the standard on your department. And if you're not, what defines that person as the standard or those people as the standard, and what we need to do to get there. So hope that clarifies some things on the occupational athlete mindset. As always, thanks for listening. Hit me up if you got any questions. Hey guys, thanks again for listening to another episode of the Shift Change Podcast. I need to ask if you would leave a rating. I think that it helps people who are new to the podcast find it quicker. It doesn't do me any good, but it does help other people that are looking for the Shift Change Podcast on Spotify or Apple. It just comes up quicker the more ratings that you give it. Whether you give it a 2 or a 5, it doesn't make a difference. It just helps other people. If you need to get a hold of me, contact me via my email, the show email, which is talkshiftchange@gmail.com. Or you can message me on Instagram at talk.shiftchange. Excuse me, at talk.shiftchange on Instagram. As always, thanks for listening. I could not have imagined how well this podcast has been received. So, as always, I appreciate it. Work hard, be kind.